Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I watched my best friend suffer for years, and I did something about it. He was married for 10 years, with his ex for a total of 13 years. I never saw someone so in love. It was painful to watch because she didn't deserve his devotion. The problem? She was an alcoholic with a nasty streak. When she'd drink, she'd turn into this monster who would tear him down. Every time he'd vent about the horrible things she said, he'd always add, "It's not her, it's the illness." Such a kind heart, making excuses for her behavior. Last year, everything fell apart. After years of what I call abuse, my friend had run out of energy. He couldn't be her emotional punching bag anymore. Her reason for asking for divorce? She got fired for testing positive for MJ at work, and he wasn't empathetic enough about it. Of course he wasn't. Her firing came after one of her drunken episodes where she told him he was a piece of crap who was always trying to control her. All he tried to do was get her away from alcohol because of how she treated him when drunk. The divorce was quick, and my friend tried to move on. It took months, but he started to seem like himself again. Then, earlier this year, I got a call from him. His voice was shaking and he asked me to come over. When I arrived, he was wasted, sobbing and mumbling about how she hadn't asked for the divorce for the reasons she claimed. The truth? She had been cheating on him with several different people throughout their marriage. The next morning, when he was more clear-headed, I asked him how he had discovered all this information. He explained that while cleaning out the spare room to sell some stuff he didn't need anymore, he had found an old tablet. When he went to clear it, he discovered she was still logged in, and all the evidence was right there on the screen. He pulled out the tablet, handed it to me, and said he was going back to bed. He asked me to lock up when I left. Before I left, I looked at what was on that tablet. Messages, photos, dates, times, everything. I was furious seeing how she had betrayed my friend for years, while he defended her and blamed her illness for her treatment of him. I wanted to get even with this horrible woman, so I took pictures of everything and left. When I got home, I researched these men she'd been with. 2 of them seemed ordinary, but the third one was different. A quick search showed he was a registered sex offender, still on probation. His official address was listed as 123 Lane City, State, and this guy knew she was married. That's when I realized something important. This sex offender wasn't living at his registered address. According to her social media, he was living with her. She posted photos of their time together. On top of that, my friend's ex used MJ regularly and owned several firearms for sport shooting. As a convicted felon on probation, this guy shouldn't be around drugs or weapons. So I went to the state sex offender website and filed a report. I told them that he wasn't living at his registered address and included evidence that he was living in a home with drugs and firearms. I attached screenshots of the social media posts as proof. I was just hoping to cause them a minor inconvenience. Maybe he'd get a warning, or they'd have to deal with some paperwork. I never expected what happened next. Yesterday, my friend's ex broke her usual social media routine. In her post, she complained that her year couldn't get any worse. She wrote that her boyfriend had lost his job and she was now facing eviction because she couldn't afford her rent. I checked the state court system website to see if it was related to my report. And yes, it was. Her boyfriend had been rearrested. From what I could tell, she couldn't afford to post his bail. The job she took after being fired couldn't support her lifestyle. So now he's probably going back to prison and she's about to become homeless. I haven't told my best friend that I was behind all this. I'm not sure I ever will. But he's happy to see these 2 terrible people getting what they deserve. Part of me wants to comment on her post with the sex offender registration link and point out that it's more than losing a job, but I don't want to make my friend's life harder. So I'll just stay quiet. My friend is moving on with his life, and karma caught up with his ex and her boyfriend without me saying a word. I'm blind since birth, but that doesn't mean I can't see through people's true intentions. While my eyes don't work, my other senses are better, and my intuition is spot on. That's why I knew from the moment I met her that Karen was bad news. High school is tough for anyone, but being blind adds another challenge. I move through the hallways with my white cane, using my memory and the sounds around me. I can tell who's walking by from their footsteps, clothes sounds, and smell. Karen and her friends were the popular girls in our school. The way they walked, the sharp click of their heels on the floors, the swish of their clothes told me everything about their attitude. Their popularity came with entitlement. They'd push past other students without saying sorry. I'd often be shoved against lockers when they went by, my cane knocked aside while they kept talking. Once, after being pushed aside, I asked them to watch where they were going. Karen said she didn't see me there. I heard the giggles as they walked away. I know when someone is making fun of me. They talk loudly about their weekend plans so everyone could hear about their lifestyle. Karen would brag about getting the latest iPhone before it was in stores. Her friends would get excited and talk about taking pictures at someone's lake house. When they passed me in the cafeteria or hallway, I could hear their whispers. They'd ask how I knew what to eat or if I knew my clothes matched. I acted like I didn't hear, but it hurt. They thought being blind made me stupid. I have straight A's and plan to study law after high school. The breaking point came in the bathroom one day. They walked in, not seeing me in the stall. Karen started bragging about something that made me angry. She told her friends about tricking a blind woman who was selling charity bracelets for guide dogs at the mall. She said she bought 10 bracelets, gave the woman $50, and then lied that the woman didn't give enough change. Her friends thought this was clever, and Karen said it was easy because the woman couldn't see what money she gave her. They laughed and left. I sat there feeling mad. This wasn't just about me anymore. She had tricked someone who was trying to help others. That was too much. I have a friend who's good with computers. I'll call him Tech Friend. When I told him what happened, he was angry too. I said I needed to show everyone what she did, and he said we could make a fake social media profile. We created a profile for a fake teen named Alex with connections to a band Karen loved. Tech Friend sent her a friend request, which she took right away. After a few days of messages, Alex asked Karen to meet before a concert, promising backstage passes. She was happy and said yes to meeting at the coffee shop near school. On meeting day, I got there early with Tech Friend. We sat at the corner table with my phone ready with recordings from the bathroom. When Karen arrived, I smelled her strong perfume. I said hi to Karen and told her to sit. She was confused and asked where Alex was. I told her Alex wasn't real, and it was just me. Karen called me the blind girl and asked what was going on. I played the recording of her bragging about tricking the blind woman. The coffee shop had enough people to see what happened next. Karen said I recorded her illegally and wanted my phone. She jumped across the table, knocking drinks over and grabbing for my phone. I held on to it, but she pulled my hair and scratched my face. Tech Friend told Karen to get off me and pulled her away while I fixed my clothes and caught my breath. I told her everyone had seen her attack a blind person and asked how that felt. Karen said I was lying and set her up. The coffee shop workers said they saw the attack and were calling security. Karen tried to scare us by saying her father was on the school board. Tech Friend told her we didn't care and that everyone at school would know what she did by tomorrow. Karen said we couldn't prove anything. I told her I already sent the recording to the principal, school newspaper, and the charity she tricked. I also said the woman she stole from was my aunt's friend, and we filed a police report. Karen said I was making it up. I told her to try me and said my father was a lawyer who wanted to work on her case. Karen left angry, but it was too late. By next day, everyone knew what she did. The school suspended her for attacking me, and the charity filed charges for fraud. Her friends stopped hanging out with her when they realized being her friend would hurt their image. Classic. I work at a resort restaurant that also serves as a private club for members. Most of our members are rich people who own businesses or inherited money. Despite this, they're usually kind and respectful to staff and guests. They only act entitled when they feel they haven't received basic treatment expected for any guest. Even the owner doesn't ask for anything outrageous. Entitled behavior doesn't last long here. They can demand a manager, but managers can still say no. Our resort values staff happiness over money. The human resources representative at training told us no matter how important members are, or how much they spend, they can't treat others badly or act superior. We don't tolerate that. Here's a story of how a family, a daughter, mother, and father, had their memberships revoked and their faces put on "Do not serve" signs after they threatened staff, managers, and a boss. This happened at a sports bar and was told to me by a bartender with connections there. I know the main details. Chapter 1. The daughter gets fired. A new girl was hired as a waitress at the sports bar. She got the job through her parents, who were resort members. Hiring members' children is common, but you don't get special treatment for being both a member and employee. One night when the daughter was working, the bar was extremely busy. A frantic waitress found the daughter sitting at a table with her parents. She was laughing, eating food, drinking a cocktail, totally against the rules, and ignoring her work. The employee asked the daughter what she was doing and said she should be working because help was needed. The daughter said she couldn't help because she was with her parents. The employee told her she couldn't abandon her shift during such a busy time and asked for help again. The daughter told her to go away and said she'd work after her parents left. Her parents stayed quiet during this. The employee told the manager, who was furious. When the manager saw the table, she got even angrier. Maybe because of the cocktail or because the daughter had caused problems before, the manager fired her that night. I don't remember if the parents were there, but they called later to complain about their child being fired. This wasn't the last time they'd caused trouble. Chapter 2. Karen gets dragged out of the bar by security. About a week after the daughter was fired, the sports bar was having a normal day. Employees were preparing for opening in an hour. The manager that day was one of the main managers, very good at her job and one of the kindest people to work with. While she helped employees with their duties, the doors opened unexpectedly. A guest coming in before opening wasn't unusual, but this wasn't a normal person. It was Karen, extremely angry. She started screaming at the staff that her daughter had COVID and was sick. She blamed the staff, saying they infected her daughter after getting her fired, and asked if they knew who she was. This happened in mid-2020 when COVID was serious, masks were required, and vaccines weren't available. Everyone stopped working and watched. The sports bar is one big room, so everyone saw and heard everything. The manager approached Karen and asked her to leave because they weren't open. Karen kept screaming and making a scene. The manager warned that she'd call security if Karen didn't leave. Then Karen noticed an employee recording everything on their phone. Karen ran to the employee, smacked the phone out of their hands, and screamed even louder. That was assault. The manager called security, who came immediately. 2 large security guards dragged Karen out as she screamed. An incident report was filed, and since Karen was a member, her family's membership was suspended while they investigated. Security printed posters with Karen's face, saying not to serve her or her husband. Then things got worse. Chapter 3. The husband loses his membership permanently. I don't know exactly when this happened after Karen's outburst, but it was so soon that her posters were still up. The husband, the primary membership holder, was furious. Did he try to apologize calmly? Did he wait for things to settle? Number. Most employees know where the manager's offices are. One major manager, our resort's general director, had his office in the main building and oversees various departments. His name is on member emails and newsletters. Everyone knows him, his position, and what he does. That day, the husband came to the resort asking where to find the general director. Some employee who probably didn't know what was happening told him. The husband stormed to the office. The general director was at his desk when the husband burst in and started yelling. The general director, who I've never seen angry, told the husband not to yell and warned that he'd call security. The husband kept going. The husband shouted about how much money he spent yearly and demanded his membership back. He called the situation outrageous and defended his wife. The general director asked him to leave and calm down so they could talk properly, but the husband refused to go until things were fixed. He bragged about golfing with the owner and threatened the director's job. The director just said security was coming and suggested he leave voluntarily. The general director wasn't impressed. He knew about the situation but couldn't help, especially with the husband behaving this way. Would you help someone who barged into your office and started screaming? Security was called again. The husband was removed from the property. I think police might have been involved too. This was the final straw. Thanks to the general director, the entire family had their membership terminated and were banned from the property. What did they expect? Play with fire, get burned. Chapter 4. Epilogue. I learned about this when I saw the posters myself. A family picture of the husband and Karen hung in security's office that said, "The husband and Karen's membership has been terminated due to their poor treatment of staff and guests on our property. If you see these two anywhere on property or at sports bar, do not serve them and immediately call security." The poster stayed up for almost 2 months. I often talked with security officers before my shifts, and they never saw the family again. My co-worker who told me this story laughed and said those nutcases had it coming. As far as I know, they never returned. Don't be an entitled jerk. I sold my car last year. My old Toyota hit 200,000 miles and started making strange noises, so I got rid of it. It's been freeing. I've saved money without car payments, insurance, and repair costs. My stress levels dropped too. I use public transportation and ride shares when needed. It works for me. The problem is my brother doesn't understand that I no longer have a car. My brother and I have a complicated relationship. He's 3 years older, and growing up, he was the golden child. I had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. As adults, that pattern continued. He expects me to help him, while rarely returning the favor. When I had a car, he treated me like his driver. Need a ride to the bar? Call me. Car in the shop? I'll drive you to work. Too tired to drive home from a party? I should come get you at 1 a.m. If I said no, I was selfish and not acting like family. I thought selling my car would end these requests. It didn't. Last night, I was finally sleeping after a tough week when my phone buzzed at 11:30 p.m. My brother. He texted asking me to pick him up from the airport tomorrow morning at 2 a.m. I reminded him that I sold my car last year. He suggested I could just rent one. When I told him I wasn't renting a car to pick him up at 2 a.m., he had an even more ridiculous idea. He suggested I take a cab to the airport and ride back with him. I asked if he really expected me to pay for a cab to the airport at 2 a.m. just to ride back with him in another cab he was already taking. He said yes. This way, he wouldn't have to ride alone, and we could split the fare. I told him to just take the cab himself. He complained cabs were expensive. I suggested public transportation. He asked if I was crazy to suggest public transportation at 2 a.m. I refused to spend money on a cab to the airport when he was already taking one back. He said I was being difficult and mentioned I didn't have to work tomorrow. Actually, I did have to work, but that wasn't the point. I told him he was asking me to spend money and time for no reason. He brought up how he helped me move once. Yes, he helped me move 3 years ago. I'd repaid that favor many times with rides when I still had a car. I said this wasn't about helping, but about him expecting me to inconvenience myself for no logical reason. He called me selfish and said I didn't care about family. I asked if I was selfish for not taking a cab to the airport at 2 a.m. just to ride back with him. He said yes, and a real sibling would do that. I told him I was going to bed, he should take his cab and we'd meet another time. He said I shouldn't expect any favors from him in the future. I put my phone on silent and tried to sleep, but I was frustrated. Who asks someone without a car to pick them up from the airport, then suggests renting a car or taking a cab just to ride back together? The next morning I had more texts. He complained the cab cost $75 and I could have helped split it. He had to sit next to some weird guy who talked the whole time. And our mother said I should have helped him. I called him. I told him we needed to talk about boundaries. I don't have a car anymore, which was my choice. I'm not his driver, and he needs to stop asking me for rides. He said that's what siblings do for family. I said family respects each other's boundaries and choices. I chose to live without a car, and he needed to respect that. He asked if I would never help him again. I said I was happy to help in ways that make sense, but I wouldn't rent a car or take a cab to the airport at 2 a.m. because he didn't want to ride alone. He wasn't happy about this. He hung up, which was a relief. I knew he'd give me the cold shoulder for a while, but I'd finally stood up for myself. 2 weeks later, he texted again. He asked if I could pick him up from the bar since he'd had a few drinks. I replied, I don't have a car. He didn't answer, but I think he finally understood. He hasn't asked me for a ride since. Setting firm boundaries is the only way forward, even with family, especially with family. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.